Hey, good morning. It is Monday. Have no clue what date it is, but I can tell you it's Monday of Thanksgiving week. And I can tell you that this is November because it is Diabetic Awareness Month. And I've been coming on here every day sharing something about type 1, whether it be our journey or something factual, the entire month, and will continue to do so through the 30th in order to help spread some awareness and compassion. Molly, my 14-year-old daughter, is a type 1 diabetic. So I share because I would like her world to be met with a little bit of understanding and compassion. And I do that because it's an invisible disease. People look at Molly and they say she looks so healthy. And she does. She really does. And unless you saw her pump on her arm or her, bag or her checking her finger, you would look at her and go, gosh, she looks like a perfectly normal, healthy girl. And she does, which is a gift, but it's also in some ways hard because people assume that she is healthy, or that the battle that she faces isn't significant because she looks healthy. But it is a silent battle that is fought moment by moment inside her own body every single day. So that's why I come on here and that's what I share. What I wanted to share with you today is how we get through some of the hard days with Molly. And if you can imagine, with any child, you have hard days, right? So you throw the battle like this on, and you throw constant reminders and a little bit of constant nudging, because we have a lot of conversations back and forth about type 1. Molly, your blood sugar's high. You need a dose. It's low. What are you doing? You need to drink something. We interrupt time with her friends. We interrupt relaxation time for her when she's wanting some time kind of by herself. I mean, there's constant communication going on. And so sometimes, especially at 14 years old, that's super frustrating. So I wanted just to share a couple things for my fellow families out there. We don't have a magic answer. You saw me a couple weeks ago on here crying because she snapped at me because she was frustrated and I was frustrated. We have plenty of those moments, but we also try really, really hard to have plenty of awesome moments. And so one of the things we do with Molly is obviously just keep open communication as much as we can. We have a constant dialogue going on about her blood sugar, about supplies, about needs, about how she's feeling, how she's doing. So that helps because she knows it's just an open, never-ending conversation. Another thing that we do with Molly is remind her often a couple things. Number one, it is her disease, but it's our battle, and we intend to fight it with her every single day for the rest of her life, as long as God gives us time on this earth. So yes, it is her disease, and certainly she's the one enduring it, but we plan on battling it with her. So hopefully that makes her not feel so alone. Another thing we remind her often is, we're going to treat the diabetes whether or not she has a good attitude or a bad attitude. So I tell her sometimes, not often I have to tell her, but on occasion I'll say to her, listen, you can either do this with a good attitude or you can do this with a bad attitude. Either way, it's going to get done. So you can just choose how kind and how sweet we're going to be to each other. That's your choice. But the other is not an option. It's going to get done. So we've kind of taken that stance from the beginning with her. Like, listen, the diabetes is going to get treated. So we can either treat it together and have fun and be kind, or we can treat it together and be nasty. But either way, that is not an option. That's going to get handled. And again, we don't have all the answers, but there's just some hard things that we've kind of drawn the line on, and that's one of them. And then the final thing we try to do is remind ourselves often that she's 14 years old and she's a kid. This is an adult battle that's being fought in a child's body. It's frustrating. And so we try to give her as much grace as we can. And in turn, we ask her to give us grace as well. Because there are moments as parents where we're tired, and sometimes our attitude and temperament kind of get the best of us, and we might snap at her when it's not her fault. This disease is not her fault. And so we have to remind ourselves sometimes when we're tired to keep our own wits about us, which is hard to do when you're exhausted. So we give her a whole lot of grace, and we ask her in return to give us grace, because there's times we're not our best with her. There's times she's not her best with us. And that's just part of doing life together. It's just magnified when it happens every day, and it's a battle, and it's a medical issue, and it's a life or death situation often, every day. So those are just a few things that we try to do and try to keep in mind with Molly. We don't do it all right. I promise you, we do a lot wrong. But we do try, and we do realize that no matter how frustrating a day is, we have another day tomorrow, hopefully, if God blesses us with that. And so, we just face each day we can together. We try to stay in communication and try to stay understanding and forgiving of each other as we go through this battle together. So anyway, that's how we handle some hard days with Molly. I'm sure we'll learn some more tricks and tools as we go throughout life, but you know, there's just a couple, the hard fact of we're going to handle this, we're going to treat the diabetes, whether we treat it with kindness and gentleness or whether we treat it with anger and frustration. Either way, that's going to get handled. That's been a really key thing for Molly, and for us as well, because, you know, it reminds us that no matter, the disease is going to be there, we're going to treat it. So we can either treat it with a positive attitude or a negative attitude. And we try really hard as much as we can to treat it with a positive attitude. So happy Type 1 Awareness Month, Diabetic Awareness Month. And I will be on here tomorrow. Molly has her first swim meet tonight, her first high school swim meet tonight. So those are always interesting with blood sugars. So I will let you know how that goes tomorrow. Oh, one thing. And I'll mention this again tomorrow at the beginning of the video because it was crucial. If you watched my live yesterday, I showed you how to use glucagon and I showed you what glucagon is. I got a sweet text from a friend afterwards and said, just tell me this. If I see Molly and she's unresponsive, do I assume that she's high, or how do I know that she's not? Or do I assume that she's low and use glucagon?